Yes. Now we're coming to the working group reports, which I will just summarize. So usually in the past meetings, every working group and subcommittee delivered a report, which was quite a lengthy session. Interesting for some, not so interesting for others. So now we have remodeled this, that I will just give a brief summary of the working group and subcommittee reports, and then we have a long poster session from 10:30 to 12, where all the working groups and subcommittees will present their work. So please be sure to attend this. And what I would like to say already here, and we will reiterate this throughout the meeting, is that all the working groups and subcommittees are looking for new members. These fantastic meetings, all the standards that you all are using, are made by volunteering work outside of their normal jobs, which are already busy. Quite many people are now rotating out because they have been in all of these committees for 10 years, and we need new blood, and especially young people who know the science much better now than we do, and who have the strength to have additional work outside their normal work. So if you're interested in any of the working groups that I will be mentioning or subcommittees, please do approach us throughout this conference. So what is the AIRR community? I just wanted to introduce what are we actually doing. So we are a research driven group that organizes the use of high throughput sequencing data for adaptive immune receptor repertoires. And we are, as we just said, a committee of the Antibody Society. We develop standards for generating, curating, and sharing AIRR-C data. We provide biological standard and protocol recommendations. Importantly, we ensure interoperability of AIRR-C analysis tools, and we also advance AIRR-C techniques towards clinical use. We have now, we have done many things, but one of the big achievements is that we have the AIR Data Commons, where many billions of immune receptors are readily available for anyone to analyze. And as I just said, if you want to join, please approach us and continue this work towards making the AIR-C world a better place. And why is our work so important, right? Just to make it really, really clear. I mean, the ability to share AIRR-C data really increases the value of any one data set. If you can compare your data within 1 second to other data sets, that's what we want to do, because we know immune repertoires are so diverse. The main question most of the time is comparison of diversity. By having all these data available, we can increase the value of any one data set. You as one person may have a small n data set, but together we have a large n, right? So, and that increases statistical power and will facilitate actually the biological understanding of AIRR-C data. Okay, so now we come to the working group products. So I have structured this in working group products and manuscripts, although manuscripts are also products, but I just found it a bit more clear. So what is actually an AIRR-C working group? This is mentioned here in the top. These are groups that are focusing on specific questions and are expected to disband when these goals are accomplished. And actually a few of those groups that I will be mentioning will be disbanding within the next cycle, or for the next cycle. One of those groups is, for example, the Biological Resources Group, which has been instrumental in, so there are about 3 to 10 participants. I guess this was depending on when are the meetings. They have contributed to a podcast. They have contributed to webinars on QC pipelines, and importantly, they have been instrumental in communicating with the FDA BCR initiative, which is focusing on the standardization on of AIRR-C data sets from the experimental and computational side. So this is a huge initiative. If you want to know more about that and how to interact and how to contribute to that, please approach any one of us and we can guide you to those people. And basically, so the work of this group is now flowing into this FDA initiative. The Common Repository Group is meant as a, so the formatting is not perfect, but the Common Repository Group is for devising data commons for AIRR-C data following FAIR principles. They have released the AIR Data Commons API 1.2 and also are in the process of developing a commons registry. And so here you just see a graph of how the data has been increased over the last years, and also the number of citations that have cited the AIR Data Commons manuscript. So there's a huge network of citations and it's growing every month, which is great. So just keep citing our working group's work. The diagnostics working group has been instrumental in the AIRR-C podcast, which I hope all of you are subscribing to. And the subscriber numbers are increasing constantly as the number of episodes is increasing, which is great. And they have been also the drivers behind the AIRR-C special event in 2023, which was a Zoom event, which focused on how can we bring AIRR-C to the clinic, because this is still one of the blind spots of the AIR community. We always say that we are very relevant to clinical use, but there hasn't been really this strong transition yet, and the diagnostics group is pushing this forward. Very important. The germline gene group database group is for focusing on germline gene influence of AIRR-C data. They have many participants, so this is a huge group, and they have made progress on the rhesus macaque genome sequencing, as you also heard yesterday from William and Corey, and the mouse data sets are, for example, available from OGRDB. So if you have any questions about the germline gene, any germline gene questions, just approach the germline gene database. And for any up-to-date data sets of alleles, germline gene alleles, make sure to visit OGRDB. Legal and ethics. They're working on standards, legal standards for human subjects, and there were 4 participants, and one of their outputs was a manuscript that I will be showing in the next slides when we show the manuscript, and they will be also disbanding for the next cycle. The software group focuses on interoperability of analysis software. They have been working on a software which is called RepQued, which analyzes to what extent software can be used as a gold standard, and how we can use then these gold standards for repertoire comparison, and to what extent a data set is of good quality or high quality. So this is ongoing work, and I think will be maybe pre-printed soon, I guess. And they're also the group which certifies software tools as AIR compliant. We have now, in this cycle, certified 4 software tools as AIR compliant, and a total of 11 have been certified as AIR compliant. The standards working group is working on publishing and depositing, so on making standards for on devising standards for AIR-C data, so that it can be published in a standardized and deposited in a standardized way. They have released AIR data standards 1.4 and 1.5, and also experimental schemas for paired chain data, receptor-based data, germline gene databases, and have thankfully abandoned Python 2. Great. And so now we go to the subcommittees. So the subcommittees are for are groups that that address or are entities within the AIRR community that are addressing continuous and repetitive duties that go beyond just one specific question. So the communications subcommittee, of which there are in which there are 5 participants, they're working on communicating AIRR-C news to the outside world, facilitating also the communication across working groups. We can just see what they're doing, and they're devising outreach and dissemination activities such as AIRR-C posters, infographics, such as the graphic that I showed 3 or 4 slides before about the AIRR community, that was, for example, done by the communication subcommittee. Comms about AIRR-C news. They are also managing and then disseminating the seminar series and the TABS webinar. So they're cutting all the videos, putting them online, so a lot of work, and then also administering all of our online presence, which is, as you see, long. And we're still in progress of getting AIRR community on Wikipedia. It's surprisingly more difficult than you would think. Then there is the executive subcommittee, which provides leadership to the community, manages votes and election, drafts proposals regarding the governance. We didn't have many disputes yet, but we would be willing to resolve those, and other services. And so what we have been doing, or what the exec has been doing, is streamlining of AIRR-C operations, and Christian, after my talk, will be talking about what has changed in the new governance version, facilitating again interaction between the working groups, managing manuscript endorsements, initiating the strategic planning subcommittee, the biannual working group subcommittee reports, and then also outreach, so sponsor acquisition for these meetings and promoting interaction with outside important entities for us, IUIS, FDA, Europlanality. And then we have AIRRC as a subcommittee, which is the Inferred Allele Review Committee, which is responsible for judging the validity of germline gene, IG and TCR genes inferred from AIRR-seq data and genomic data, and submitting these findings to the IUIS T-cell receptor and IG nomenclature review committee. And there are about 9 participants. So in the last cycle, novel alleles have been affirmed and forwarded to the nomenclature committee. And human and mouse reference set have been established in collaboration with other working groups and published, and can now be selected in the IG-BLAST tool. Great. And they started the consolidation of the PCR-IR process. The meeting subcommittee and is of course instrumental in making these meetings, and the fact that we are here is all due to barely 5 people, and I think they did a great job, so I think we should give them yes. So so this is a one line, right? But this one line is thousands of hours of work. So they have been working on the special event, also the one that was also headed by the diagnostics working group, and of course the AIRR-C meeting where we are now. Then the strategic planning subcommittee was composed of 6 people, and so what I mentioned before is that at the last meeting in San Diego, we thought, okay, we need a new strategy to devise how can we gain more outreach, more stability in terms of members, economic stability also, and more output, overall to become more sustainable. And for that we devised the strategic planning subcommittee, which has now made a report, which you all have received prior to this meeting, so I hope you have read it or are reading it. in the next days, and there will be a discussion about that also on Thursday, headed by Jamie Scott. And so what we did in this committee is we interviewed people of the community and devised a common framework and vision for the way forward for our community. And if you have feedback for this report, please send it to us or to Jamie or to anyone. Yeah, maybe not to anyone. So a main output of our community is manuscripts. So there have been several manuscripts on the reference data sets, germline set development, chapters in a book chapter, which many of us have contributed. And then also from the legal and ethics group, there was a huge manuscript on biological databases and database rights. So then we also asked all the working group and subcommittees, what are your strengths and what are your challenges? The strengths, they almost all mentioned dedication. And I think all of those products and manuscripts could only be done by people working, after hours, before hours on this. So I think they deserve, again, an applause for all the work they have done. And then, since this is so much work, many of them in their challenges also either said we need to become more sustainable, so we need more members that are working on this, more sponsors also, and we need to reach out to other communities so that they also adapt our standards. So for example, as we said previously, always the more industry parts of our community that are using air data, they don't really know about us. We need to push more into that direction, but also other directions, partnering more with transcriptome communities and other communities. So we need to become better at that, and we will discuss many of these things also in the Thursday session.